It's us again. Did you miss us?
I missed us.
I missed us. I don't know if they missed us, but I missed us.
I always miss us.
Me too.
And this is my favorite time of the week.
Yeah.
It's always going to go by so fast. And what time of the week is it, Travis?
I mean, honestly, the time of the week is movie review time.
It's movie review time. And on this hit podcast called Mean Girls Interrupted, we're big in Australia.
So for some reason,
it's cold right now over there. So maybe that's all they have to do right now is listen to us.
Do you think it's cold or do you think it's like what?
It's winter time.
Yeah, I mean, I get that it's winter, but isn't there winter like an Arizona winter?
It probably is more like an Arizona winter.
Because I know it's desert. I know it gets
welcome
cold.
to the stage, Arizona Wintour.
Arizona Wintour. Honestly.
Yeah.
That's kind of a hot name.
That is a hot name.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking was also a really cool name? What was it? Peg Me More.
That's a very solid. Did you just make that up right now?
No, I've been working on it, actually.
You're like you have like a notebook where you're like peg something whore.
No, yeah,
peg me whore. No, peg me more.
Yes, exactly. But like Moore, like Demi.
Yeah.
Not Lovato. Yeah. For all of you out there, the only Demi that matters is More.
Right.
More is more. You know Demi. What I mean? So, but I think she goes by Demi, not Demi, which is
Demi Moore.
Yeah. Demi Moore. But we're not talking about her today, everyone.
It's almost like we're not. But we are talking about a movie today.
Yeah, we are talking about someone whose name closely resembles Demi Moore, Mia Goth. See how that works?
They rhyme.
They rhyme all of it.
They evoke a similar feeling in the brain.
They do.
So we're talking today about the controversial, the sensation of a genre film called X.
In my honest opinion, the underrated.
Do you think it's underrated? Because I feel very far behind, having just watched it yesterday.
I also feel far behind, only in the sense that I had no clue Pearl was coming out. None. But they filmed it secretly. So
you know what's so funny about Pearl? So okay, everybody, we're talking.
We'll get into it.
It's a horror film. It's a horror film called X. And so spoilers alert, you have your fair warning right now. If you haven't seen it yet, keep listening.
Definitely keep listening because we do love a horror movie here. And you guys don't like them apparently.
I mean, people can go suck a dick with horror films. And I have lots of thoughts and feelings about this. And I'm glad we're talking about this today because so Pearl is like a prequel of this movie X, about the life and times of this murderous old lady
who is young at the time when the movie called Pearl is out.
Yeah. So X stars Mia Goth,
who, by the way,
I don't know what else she's been in.
John, she's been in all kinds of stuff. She was in.
I know.
She's been in A Cure for Wellness. She loves horror movies. She's been in Nymphomaniac, Cure for Wellness, Suspiria. She was in Suspiria.
She was in
Suspiria. She was in, oh my God, what was the it was a pretty big one. Sorry, it escapes me. Mia Goth has been everywhere, but she
flies under the radar,
dude.
Yeah. But like I see her around in like PR stuff. And I'm like, who is that? Cool name. Great look for like a model for sure.
She looks like she was meant to live in the 70s.
Yeah, like she has very distinct features and it's just like but this was my first time ever like really seeing her in a meaty role. Yeah,
well, because the thing is like what's strange to me is I watched A Cure for Wellness in the theaters. That's a whole different can of worms. I hated the ending.
Yeah, I didn't like how that movie developed.
No, it actually had a lot of
very
promise,
promising.
and then it was one of those. I had
expectations for that because the trailer was so cool, and I like Dane DeHaan, who plays that actor person. Yeah. And it's Gore Verbinski, I believe, which I am a huge. Anybody can tell you. I'm
telling you,
I'm a very big Ring fan. Like the original The Ring. I know people have qualms with that movie, but
why?
I love that movie.
I don't at all.
Just that first one, not the whole franchise, but that one that came out with Naomi Watts.
I don't understand why people have issues. I didn't know that was a thing.
I don't know. Well, the thing is, I get the vibe whenever whenever I do meetings and stuff, I sometimes will reference that, and I get kind of a blank stare, or I get the vibe that they don't like it as much as I do.
Well, that's on them. The Ring is great.
Yeah, Gore Verbinski, and he was coming. Mia Goth.
We're talking about Mia Goth and X. That's why.
Right.
But she's great. I think she is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm glad that she did this because it's it shows what she's got.
And she's got a lot.
She's got a lot going on. She doesn't have. I appreciate an actor who can take off all their clothes.
Me too.
Because it's getting so hot.
And
she's going to take her clothes off. But I think I love it whenever they do that, but they're still delivering a really good performance. I love that. And speaking of, I'm going to segue to Brittany Snow in this movie.
Honestly,
Brittany Snow is in this movie called X, and it's my favorite thing in the entire world.
John, this movie, not that I didn't have a bad opinion of Brittany Snow. I thought she was neither here nor there for me, because you see her in everything and nothing. Yeah. She pops up in the most random places.
Right.
But for her to be in this, honestly, changed my entire perspective of Brittany Snow. Someone who literally ran with this role knowing full well what it was in advance.
Yeah.
Knowing she was going to be nude, having a sex scene, and at one point wiping cum off her leg.
It's off of her back, by the way.
Her back, yes, her lower back. I forgot her lower back.
And it's not just a little bit.
No, and then she just nonchalantly throws it on the ground. Listen, this movie is crazy, dude.
Yeah, I'm just I think, okay, cool.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it. I'm going to let you go ahead and take this, but I do want to.
Let's take this together.
Okay.
And that should have been a line in this movie.
Let's take this together. Honestly, it should have. I do want to say this before, and I will mention this as we talk about the characters' deaths. Each one, except for two of the people, the main characters, basically the main roles, all of their deaths were foreshadowed.
Oh.
Every single one of their deaths was foreshadowed. And I thought when they were getting out of the van, when they stop at that convenience store the first time, I thought it was in the order they were getting out of the van, but I was very wrong.
Oh, you got to expose this to me because I was not catch that.
I was looking because all horror movies follow a thing, but I was looking, are they going to make this different? How are they going to make this different? Which I don't mind a horror movie that follows the same tropes, but I also like things to be switched. So I was thinking, okay, they're getting out of the van. Is this the order they're going to die in when they first got to the farm? Not the place.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen. Correct?
No, it does not. But I will tell you when we get to the deaths how it goes. So
okay, cool.
So
yes,
go
just
ahead.
Interject. Okay, so this is directed by Ty West, and I don't know
written
anything.
by him as well.
Written and directed by Ty West. And produced.
He did all of it.
He did all of the things. He is a one-man band. And I don't know anything else that he's done. And I think whatever he's done before this really doesn't even matter at this point.
I have no clue. Yeah, erase it because this is it. This is.
But it's on. Excuse me. But this is actually produced and distributed by A24, which is kind of an unusual situation.
Oh, did he not produce this?
I mean the company at large.
Oh, yes,
I'm sure
yes,
he did produce it. but like usually A24, like they acquire and distribute. They don't like, it's usually a special project of theirs if they are the production company.
Gotcha. Okay.
As well. So anyway, so this has a really great cast. It stars Mia Goth, obviously, as Maxine/Pearl.
Maxine Minx, which, by the way, I love that.
That's a great name.
It really is.
Also, Jenna Ortega is in this, and she's sort of
in
like
Scream 6. They just wrapped.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. But she's also in the Wednesday Netflix show. She plays Wednesday.
Yes.
Adams.
Which is weird because she was wearing underwear that said Sunday on it.
Oh, that's a real missed opportunity there.
It really
oh my God. That should have said Wednesday on it.
But her Sunday underpants actually referenced, I can't remember which movie it was. There's a movie that makes a reference to how there's no underwear with Sunday written on it because it's the Lord's Day.
Oh my God. What was it, a horror movie? Because I did notice a lot of different horror movie references.
They had a Psycho reference in there.
They had a with
the car in the fucking water.
Car in the water. I was going to bring that up to you because they also reference it pretty directly in their conversation whenever they're talking about horror movies taking a turn at the midpoint.
It's honestly very on the nose. And that is what I thought to myself when it turns. I was like, that's super on the nose, and I loved it.
Right. And then they also have, I feel like there was definitely a Jennifer's Body reference in there where she's swimming in the lake. Did you get that too?
Okay, I got that, but I also got like Lake Placid.
I got a Lake Placid one too.
It freaks me out, John. I hate water you can't see in. So anytime someone even dips a toe in.
That was very tense and scary.
John, it was.
They made that shit murky.
Dude, I hate water you cannot see through.
And that's a lake. That's like all lakes.
Yep, and I'm not going in them.
No, lakes are creepy. Lakes have snakes in them. No, thank you. So anyway, Jenna Ortega killing the game career-wise right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brittany Snow is Oscar-worthy in this movie.
She's a wonder.
I mean, how she doesn't have an Oscar, I don't know. Like, she needs to stop doing Pitch Perfect movies and just do this. So Kid Cudi.
Yeah, I was so shocked
here.
Right?
Yeah.
Kid Cudi, so, I was like, okay, good for you.
He's been in things before, but
this is his first horror movie though.
Yeah, and I know that he's like a horror fan, and so for him to do like a genre movie of this caliber is like good for you. Like, way to stay plugged in to like catch wind of a project like this.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, and also this is also another Ring reference. Martin Henderson is in the original The Ring.
Is he the one who plays the hottie?
Yeah.
The hottie with the body.
The hottie with the body. Yeah, so he plays like sort of the ringmaster of this whole thing. Like, I guess they all work in, but he's from The Ring. He plays like the deadbeat dad who dies in the end.
Why do I not remember? I'm going to have to go back.
I was so happy to see him in this movie on multiple levels.
John, right. But let me tell you, he really pulled off that 70s hair. He looked like a dirt bag.
Yeah.
He was a strip club owner he looked like it.
He was giving me like Kill Bill,
Madsen.
That actor. Michael Madsen in Kill Bill Volume 2.
Who was also a strip club person.
Yeah. It was giving me that kind of seedy dirtbag period thing. Anyway, so fucking great cast. Like, I don't know how they pulled this movie together.
It was a fantastic cast, dude.
Yeah, they have a very like quiet, cute cold open. Like usually in horror films, you get like a crazy set piece, like standalone horror scare that's very like tense, and you experience what they're up against. But this is very Texas Chainsaw Massacre in that we open up in the aftermath of something really bloody, disgusting has happened here on this day.
Can I tell you, John? And I was going to say this when I was watching it. One of my favorite things in horror movies is playing the story backwards.
Yes. I love that as well.
Because I already know what's at this point. You've already taken the mystery out. I know that everyone's going to die. And now I want to know how.
Exactly.
You have me in the chair because I'm like, holy shit, this aftermath looks insane. How did it all play out?
Right. And it's very quiet. There's very little dialogue. And it's just like the sheriff's department arriving at the scene. And I thought this was really great what they did here, because you open up on this shot that's like from inside someplace, but it looks like that like 4x whatever framing of an old 70s movie.
Yep.
But then it starts to push in and you realize that you're inside of a barn, and that's not the framing of the movie, but it's establishing the time period in a very cool way.
John, everything in this movie was
because it pushes in, and then obviously the ratio is modern. It's widescreen, but you also get more cop cars just pushed into the frame.
Yep.
And you're in a scene.
Everything in this movie is so intentional, dude.
It's very good. Like Ty West.
Like what the? Like really?
Get into it.
Okay, so
which makes me excited for the prequel Pearl.
John,
like the trailer.
Can't wait.
I think there's a Red Band trailer out there, which is like very bloody.
Oh, good.
And she's been murdering people since day one.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we arrive on the scene. It's a farmhouse kind of situation. And there's dead bodies covered up. It's a murder scene.
There's dead bodies everywhere.
Yeah. And then we cut to Mia Goth taking a fucking snorting cocaine.
Oh no, and baby aspirin. Her head hurts.
Is it baby aspirin? That's what all the bruises all over her body are from.
Yeah.
So she is in like the dressing room of like what can only be described as a place where somebody's daughter works.
Yes, the place where someone's daughter definitely works. They're putting themselves through college.
Yeah, and they're so she like snorts this cocaine, and from the looks of that, she was performing every single time she snorted cocaine in this movie. I was like, Oscar-worthy performance.
Well, I mean,
I'm like, she's done this before.
Oh, John, 1000%.
Yeah, I'm like, she's not doing this in a Hollywood kind of way. She's doing this as I've done this in a bathroom stall kind of a way.
Like, I'm a professional actress.
She's like, I'm dating Shia LaBeouf, so I do this constantly.
Obviously, this is just jokes, everyone.
And these are jokes. These are jokes and opinions, and Mia Goth has my respect.
Me as well.
And so, we get right away that she wants to be a star. That is her thing. That is whatever. And she is told by her, I guess, boss / future husband, named Wayne. He comes in, played by Martin Henderson. He's like a man of a certain age. And he comes into the dressing room, and they're like obviously going to be filming a porno somewhere. He's like, we got to go.
Yep.
And you're going to be a star because you have the X factor, which is probably why this is called X. So they hop into a van with a director played by Owen Campbell, whose name in this movie is RJ.
Yes.
He is an indie filmmaker with his girlfriend on sound. Like, she holds the boom microphone, and they are not porn filmmakers.
No.
They are regular filmmakers, but RJ has a vision for this porn that they set out to do. So we meet everybody inside of this van on their way to a place.
But let's not forget the introduction to Brittany Snow's character of her rolling out of that strip joint. Okay.
Oh, right.
And all red, she's rolling out of the strip joint. And behind her is this massive mural of an alligator that is pulling off her swimming trunks, if you notice, on the wall. Oh, my
gosh. That's right.
So.
Oh, goodness.
There's some foreshadowing for you.
Oh, I love that. And so, so they come out of like this. It's during the day, by the way. So being outside of a seedy ass strip club in the middle of so it pans out, and they're like, it's a strip club that is in the middle of like a major industrial area of Texas. And it's just like, it's just like smokestacks and plumes of smoke and pollution, and they are like this little truck stop sort of place,
which is actually hilarious because when you pan out, you're like, where the hell is this?
I mean, it's like so Texas because like they have those places in Texas where it's like it's for the truckers, it's for the workers at these plants and stuff. It's just like so weird and alien, but so great setting overall.
Yeah.
So, but they are on their way out to film a porno, and they have really high hopes that this is going to be something big, something different that's going to make an impact. And they have their sights set on this is going to be a good quality porn film. It's going to have story. It's going to have good quality stuff. So anyway, so Brittany Snow and Kid Cudi are in there, and they're sort of like weirding out and are also weirded out by Jenna Ortega's character, who's sort of like dubbed as Church Mouse. Yep. She seems very modest, prude, kind of was like, why are we even doing this, boyfriend? And then the boyfriend's like, I have a vision and we're going to make this really cool. So they stop and get gas. Oh, right. We expose the title of the porno that they're about to make, which is The Farmer's Daughters.
Which, by the way, was a title of a real porn film. Just FYI.
Was it?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
an old porn film. And I have to say, at this point in the movie, they have stopped. They've stopped at a gas station. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off, but I have to tell you. So they've stopped at the gas station, and I believe, I'm trying to think of which character it is, RJ or is it Owen? Is Owen played by Kid Cudi? I can't remember the characters' names. It's RJ.
Kid Cudi plays Jackson.
Jackson. Okay, so it's either Jackson or RJ. One of them drinks some milk. I think they buy a box of milk because remember they used it.
Oh, yeah.
There's a missing person on that box.
Who's the missing person?
I'll tell you.
Oh my gosh, no.
I'll tell you. But there's a missing person on that box, and I will let you know when we get to that point who that missing person is.
Interesting. Okay. The tension has been raised.
Just so you're aware.
Okay, cool. Because I noticed that there was like a missing person thing, but that was like pretty commonplace at that time.
Well, actually in the 70s, this is in 79. They didn't start doing missing persons on boxes until 84. So they have the date wrong, but I mean, it's still there. You know what's
interesting about that, by the way, now that we bring it up, a side note, I was in school in Texas, like, what was it? It was like first or second grade, I believe. And I was in the cafeteria eating lunch. And on the milk cartons, they had missing people.
They had kids missing.
I remember that, which is
me
crazy
too. Yeah, it's nuts, John,
I'm like, at school? Cool.
We have to drink our milk while a kid is missing.
Right. And it's like, so the relationship to that is kind of like weird. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry. We digress.
So they stop at this gas station and they're getting supplies for their like overnight stay or whatever. And we get a clue into the world while Mia Goth and what nickname are we giving this guy? Blue-eyed daddy?
Oh, for sure. Let's just get like 70s poppy.
Wayne. Okay, Wayne.
Yeah, just Wayne. We'll just call him Wayne.
So, they're inside, and we get a little bit more character development, and also like the world that they're in. Like there's like a preacher, like televangelist, like going hard on the TV. That the checkout lady who's very much judging what they're all about. So it's very churchy and stuff. Which plays in.
It really sets the tone.
They button that up, by the way.
It really sets the tone.
Yeah, the televangelist like pops up here and there. And then did you know, like, obviously the reveal at the end of that was pretty amazing for me. It like they didn't have to pay it off, but they do.
I love the payoff because you hear in the beginning him talking about.
You hear him talking all throughout.
But you hear him talking about a specific person leaving. And then at the end, you're like, whoa, full circle.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's what I want in my horror films. Like everything that you introduce pays off in some way. So even if it doesn't even matter that much. It doesn't,
but it matters. It matters to the story.
It's like a little icing, like a little sprinkle a little cherry on top.
All it does is just create more of a character development.
Yeah,
it creates a stronger character.
Even if it's like a throwaway, it's like it deepens and enriches the story.
Yep.
So, so while they're outside filling up with gas, they like decide to do a shot of Kid Cudi putting up the gas and like putting in the gas, and Brittany Snow is like, if you film this, if you tilt up from the if you tilt the camera up from the nozzle, it'll look like he's using his cock. And so like, and then the director takes that note and loves it. And then Brittany Snow is just like, see, I got ideas too.
I love her name, by the way. What was her name? Is it Bobby? Is it
Bobby Lynn?
Bobby Lynn, dude. Is my
Bobby Lynn.
Bobby Lynn is probably one of my favorite characters in a horror movie.
Yeah. So she is introduced as like this character that like has been doing porn for a long time. She's very experienced.
She's larger than life.
Yeah. She's a star in her own right. She's just here to have fun. She enjoys every moment, she just loves life, basically.
She just wants to have very nice. She does seem very nice.
She seems very nice for now, but like she does eventually reveal to have a little bit of a bitchy side.
Yeah, she could a little, yeah.
So they film that, and then they get back in with all the supplies, and they head out. And then they get stopped in this also what I feel is a foreshadowing way.
Absolutely.
They have to go around this this big rig truck that has hit a cow on the road, and it is obliterated.
Yes.
And it is gory and it is bloody, and I love it.
Me too.
Like it establishes the tone, what key and register we're going to be seeing this gore in. Yep. You know what I mean?
John, I thought the same. That's why I'm telling you, everything's so intentional to the point where it's like, we're telling you what's going to happen, but also it's going to be fully kind of unexpected.
Yeah. So like, it may seem just like it's a very tone setting piece. And so like the cow's guts and entrails are all over the road.
Oh yeah.
And they have to, and we see like the tire of the van like slowly rolling over it with like the crunchy sounds and the gory sounds. Foreshadowing for sure. Foreshadowing a very good ending. But also it just like establishes like the heightened level of gore, the stylized gore of it. And it just tells us what we're getting into. Anyway, so they get to the farmhouse, and where we meet, what was the old guy's name?
Oh, what was his name? Kid Cudi calls him Pops. I can't remember what his name is, so let's just call him Pops. Yeah,
so Ugly Pops, and they note that he's very ugly, and he is very ugly.
Oh my god!
It's a person in prosthetics, obviously, and like so they arrive and they check in with him. It's a tense moment. He's holds them at gunpoint because he forgot who they were.
Yeah, he's like brandishing a shotgun, being like, "Get off my property."
Yeah, and he's like, "It's not loaded anyway."
Yeah.
But anyway, but it is.
Yeah, full of shit.
So he shows them to their bunkhouse where all the magic is going to happen. And he's like, "You didn't say over the phone that you were going to bring all these people with you." And he's like, "Oh, it's okay." He slips them an extra couple of dollars. And and then he's just like, "My wife is also here on the ground, so whatever."
Yeah.
And so he leaves them to it, and they immediately start filming a porn.
Well, he tells them first off straight up, "I don't like any of you. I don't like the way any of you look."
Yeah, he ends it on that note after a conversation. He's like, "I don't like you guys."
Well, Kid Cudi makes a mention to say, "Well, I did two I don't know how they say it."
He went to Vietnam as a Marine.
He went to Vietnam, and he said, "I've had a lot of farmers point shotguns at me."
Yeah, so he's
basically saying right there, he's like, "I've had a lot of farmers point shotguns at me."
Yeah.
So
yeah, so they come to an understanding of each other.
Yeah, kind of like,
And the backstory, a little bit of deeper characters that they're both have Marine stuff, just in different wars. So he leaves, and they start filming the porno between Kid Cudi and Brittany Snow. And it's the first scene that they're filming with these filmmakers. And we get that Jenna Ortega's character, who's just holding the boom mic, is very intrigued by what's going on.
She is.
She's not very shocked by what's happening. And she kind of likes it.
She
you can
does.
tell by the look on her face.
It's very good. It's good. Just facial expression.
Yeah. So she's just has like these big eyes and she's like soaking it all in like a sponge.
Mm-hmm.
And she really doesn't say anything.
No. But during this very moment, Mia Goth is obviously not filming her scene. So she has gone down to the lake, the pond.
Right. Yeah. So she's like, but she's in her costume, which is just
I love
denim overalls with nothing underneath. And that's what she's in the whole movie. And I loved that. Yeah.
It's so simple.
Yeah. She's very naked this whole movie, which I loved. So yeah, she does go to the Lake Placid Lake where it's very murky. And we see that she's being followed by somebody.
Katya.
And it is
literally Katya.
It is Katya. And we should reach out to her. Anyway, so she's being followed by like this gray-haired creature.
Yes.
That's all you can really say. It's like this white-haired creature. And for me, it registered a little too close to home.
John, it was actually really creepy though too. Like it was
she's
so
creeping on Mia Goth,
dude, and she's watching her dip her toes in the water, which, like I said,
Mia Goth takes off her clothes, takes off her coveralls, dips her toes, and takes a little dive into the water and swims out quite a ways. And this is where Travis would be like, "Nope,
John, not even dipping my toes in." When she dipped her toes in, I truly was like, "Bitch, get them out." Get them out of the water. Take your feet out of the water.
Like there's got to be a piranha.
There's something in it. There's always something in the water.
Things live in murky ass water and they can't be savory creatures. Anyway, so it turns out to be right. There is an alligator afoot. Or is it a crocodile?
It's an alligator, and that bitch is big.
It's a giant alligator.
Big.
Oh yeah. It is a giant alligator. Can I tell you a little side story about an alligator? So
sure, yes, you can.
So my redacted and I, we went down to
Georgia,
to Mexico.
Oh.
We went on down to Georgia, where we were murdered by an old lady.
Yeah.
We went to cenote in Mexico, and like the first one that we went to was like this clear cave water, pristine, lovely. And which was crazy because like whenever you're above the water line, the glare from the sun prevents you from seeing what's underneath. But with goggles, with goggles, you go under the water and you see this giant fucking cave system of pristine water and all these creatures floating around.
Absolutely.
And then we went to this other one. That was very murky.
No.
And we saw a very intimidating crane.
Cranes are actually assholes.
Right. No, it wasn't a crane. It was the larger one of that.
The emus?
No, it was like, oh my gosh, what do they call them? I can't remember. But anyway, we were in a canoe. We weren't swimming in that water. We were in a canoe.
No, that even sounds worse.
We were paddling around. There were like mangroves and everything. It was very like swampy. And then we see all these people like scuba divers and stuff swimming like in a group like towards us. And we're like, what's going on? They're like, there's a really big alligator over there if you want to see it, but we're going to swim back. And we're like, oh, so we were like, maybe we should go see it.
John.
And then we started going,
John.
We started paddling towards it because they said that it was like missing a leg.
No, I don't care.
But then we didn't have like really good control of this boat together paddling. Mm-mm. And we kept running into the side and we're like, you know what? If it starts getting like dicey and we can't control our way out of there, we probably should just turn around and not risk it. So we almost ran into this giant crane and it was very close and was like giving us stink eye.
Oh yeah. It was probably making those weird like noises at you. Was it one of those, the ones that has the gargle?
Yeah, it stood straight up and down.
John, I know which one you're talking about.
It was so stoic and it was massive.
I know what you're talking about. Sorry.
So
I loved your story, but I hated that you tried that.
We tried it, but I really wanted to, but we were getting nervous. But anyway, so Mia Goth is in this pool, and then so she is going to swim back to the dock, and we see behind her that this fucking crocodile alligator is in hot pursuit of her, and she has no idea.
It is fully an aerial view. It never changes. So it's just getting worse because you see this alligator closing the gap
on her.
And Mia Goth's character has no clue this fucker is behind her.
Yeah, and so
terrifying, dude.
It's a great visual because that alligator is this old lady who's been watching her.
It is.
And she has no idea either of the two have been watching.
And that alligator, just like Pearl, slowly closing the gap.
Yeah. So, right. And so, she gets in, she goes back, and she, but before she gets all the way back inside, she sees this old lady. She sees Katya, white-haired old lady named Pearl. She sees her on the porch of whatever. And so Pearl waves her in to her house, and she gives Mia Goth's character a lemonade. I
wouldn't be drinking that shit.
Yeah, so like she's just like this weird old lady, and Mia Goth is just trying to be nice.
I honestly, no. It's not. I'm at that point. It's like,
yeah, and she does get to that point. Mia Goth does get to this point where she's like, you know what, you're just too fucking weird. Like, because there's this point where she's like on her way out, and like she's looking at these pictures and like these early versions of Pearl, and they look a lot like Mia Goth because they are played by the same person. And and then Pearl like creepily like touches her skin.
Ew, it was very Mormon temple wedding.
Yeah, it was.
She said, was just let me touch you right here. And she goes, why did you do that?
Yeah, she's like, you're creepy.
Yeah,
and so
Pearl goes, it'll be our little secret. And Mia's like, Mia Goth's character is like, what secret? And leaves, dips.
Yeah, she's like, fuck you, Pearl. So she goes back, and it's time for Mia Goth to film her big scene.
Yep.
And so it's in the barn, and they are not supposed to be filming a porn on the grounds, by the way.
No, and they have no clue that this porn is happening.
Yeah. So they are in the barn, and this is where the milk comes in.
Yes.
It's like she's milking a cow. And so this is her big star moment, and she takes a huge bump of Coke right before.
Oh, massive. She does a massive line.
I love how in this movie, like, they glorify cocaine in this movie, because it's like, I've never done it and whatever, but it's like, nor would I, but it sort of gives Mia Goth superpowers, if you notice, which is hilarious to me.
I can tell you from personal experience, this is no longer something I do, but John, literally, if you do it, your inhibitions are out the window. You can feel almost invincible.
Right. So she does it, and she feels invincible, and like she does these invincible things. But anyway, so she does her scene with Kid Cudi, and while she's like riding it hard, and the crew is just like enthralled by what she's giving. Like I can't relate to that, but you can tell from the reaction of the other people that it's amazing. But Pearl is creeping on the outside of this. Looking in through the windows at the scene being filmed, and something ignites, sparks, reignites, if you will, inside of Pearl.
John, she's out there looking like Smeagol, straight up Gollum.
She's like, my precious.
Dude, really?
And so with this sort of reignited sense of youth and sensuality, Pearl goes back home. And her husband, and she puts on all of her makeup. She
puts on blue eyeshadow, just like Mia Goth's character.
Yes. And she's just like, Mia Goth has not only looks exactly like me as a younger me, but she's like, they are the same person, basically.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. But also played by the same person. Mia Goth is in prosthetics playing Pearl, which is bizarre.
John, I'm still shocked that I did not find that out until this morning.
But she does a really good job.
She's fucking incredible, dude. And we don't cuss here, and I had to.
I know. It just had to happen. But yeah, so she's rejected by her husband because of his quote unquote heart condition. But he's like literally just avoiding her because he's not into her anymore.
Well, why is she into him? Has he looked at himself in the mirror?
She just wants to be touched.
John, he looks like The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Like
precisely.
It is Hills Have Eyes vibes all the way.
But so like we get into the sadness of Pearl, and like we feel for her. Like she just is this aging lady who doesn't feel desirable. But anyway, so she but then we definitely stop feeling bad for Pearl.
Yeah.
we definitely stop feeling bad for her because that night after like this glorious day of shooting porn, they're all like eating sandwiches and drinking and stuff. Brittany Snow, for some reason, sings Landslide.
Which, by the way, I'm not going to lie, I loved it because, and here's why. People are probably like, is she going to sing? And of course they have her singing.
She's going to sing.
Of course she's going to sing.
She's going to sing. She can't be in a role where she doesn't sing.
And I love that element of it.
But what I love about this is it is also character deepening for her because it's like she could be a star singing. She could choose to be a singer, obviously, but she loves doing porn.
She loves sex and she loves showing her titties.
She chooses this as her art form.
Which good for her.
And it's a choice for her. And so, which I love.
Me too.
That's what I got out of that Landslide singing motif because they do the whole song. Anyway, so Jenna Ortega's character out of the blue is like, I want to do a scene in this movie. And then her boyfriend, the director, is like, absolutely, totally not. And then everybody's like, why? And he's like, because no. And then she's like, but you just said, blah, blah, blah. Why are you being such a prude now? And then he's like, he starts to have a meltdown.
Oh, full meltdown. And so
he goes outside and then Wayne intercepts. And like, while they are doing a back and forth of like, so Owen, RJ, the director, he's just like, I don't want to do this. And no, because she's a good girl, and implies that the other girls are not good girls.
Yep.
And they're doing something wrong. And so while they're doing that, we see them steal away to a room. And then by the time they get back into the room, Jenna Ortega is getting made up. She's in her panties that say Sunday on them.
Church Mouse, which, by the way, Sunday Church Mouse.
Sunday Church Mouse. And she does. And then her director boyfriend films a sex scene.
Yep.
Between his girlfriend and Kid Cudi.
Yep. Who has a ginormous dick.
Yeah. And we catch a silhouette of it too.
Just a silhouette glimpse.
Just a swinging flaccid thing. Yeah. So anyway, the aftermath of that, everybody's asleep except the director, who's taking like a crying game shower, and like
he's taking a psycho shower.
Yeah. Yes. And so he freaks the fuck out and decides to leave everyone in the van.
Is it Psycho? That's a reference to Is it American Psycho? What is it?
A Psycho.
Okay.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
So he peels on out of there, about to leave, but Pearl is standing in his way on the road.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, sorry. And then he's like, he goes to her in the headlights and is like, do you need help? Blah, blah, blah. And then she starts to try to seduce him, which he pulls away from. And the result is a knife in the neck from Pearl. And so
not just once, though.
Right. So he has this knife stuck in his neck. He falls down. And this is where shit gets really gory. And I know that we're like 15 minutes away from being over. But anyway,
I'll let you run through it.
Yeah. So he's on the ground and then he dies. But Pearl straddles him and then starts to hack away at his neck until it's totally hamburger meat.
Also next to decapitation.
And it's unnecessary.
It's incredibly violent, and blood is going everywhere.
And blood is spraying onto the headlights of the van, which saturates
the color,
everything that it touches into red.
Yeah.
And then Pearl does like a demented dance.
Yep.
And we get a little vibe that maybe she had some kind of a Glory Day dancer vibe in the past. And she's now feeling her oats. She's feeling young again. And she goes on a murderous rampage.
She goes on an absolutely murderous rampage.
Yeah, in cahoots with her husband. So, so she, what happens next?
Okay, so here's where we go. Jenna Ortega's character gets up. She's looking for RJ, who is her boyfriend. She's like, RJ, where are you? She runs to the house to find, and then the husband, Pearl's husband's like, what are you doing out here? He's like, come in. She's like, I'm looking for my boyfriend. He says, come in. I'll help you look for him. There's a flashlight downstairs. Go ahead and go downstairs. So Jenna Ortega's character.
Also, rule number 1.
Never go down.
Never go downstairs into a basement all alone.
Especially.
With an old man at the door.
Especially with one that looks like that. I don't want to go based off of people's looks, but this guy looks like he wants to kill you. So she goes downstairs. She finds the light that he says, the flashlight. Okay.
Yeah.
Then she goes back upstairs. She realizes, shit, the door is locked. He will not let her out. Now, at this moment in time, okay, Jenna Ortega is about to pull on the light fixture to turn the light on. Well, simultaneously at this point, Wayne is now in the barn looking for RJ.
Right.
They're all looking for RJ. So Wayne and the girlfriend are looking for RJ, but Wayne accidentally steps on a nail.
Yes, he does. And also, can we just say Wayne is doing all of this acting? It's a whole sequence of Wayne just in like very tiny underwear.
Tiniest underwear. And his body is smoking.
I appreciated it.
So did I. His body was smoking. So he steps on a piece of wood with a nail in it and he's freaking out because he's like, I'm going to get tetanus, which, by the way, I thought the same thing. I was like, he's getting lockjaw. I said, he's done.
He's 2 seconds away from lockjaw, and he's in the wrong industry for the lockjaw, by the way.
Exactly, because sometimes you gotta, you know what I mean?
So you need to unhinge it.
You have to unhinge it, and you can't with lockjaw.
Yeah, in the porn industry, sorry.
Yeah. So now he's like, what is this? And he sees some holes on the other side of the barn. And he's like, oh, that's weird. There's light coming through that. So he goes to those holes, and he decides to put his face next to it, which...
In horror movies,
huge mistake.
You know that's spelling trouble.
Honestly, that's a huge mistake, which is where, John, one of the lines in the movie comes into play.
Interesting.
After the first scene, Brittany Snow and Kid Cudi, he walks out and he makes the director grab him. He says, feel how hard my dick is. He was like, people's eyeballs are going to pop out when they see this movie.
No. Okay. Yeah.
This is where his foreshadowing comes in. Wayne looks through those holes and guess what? Next thing you know, what are those things called? The
pitchfork.
Pitchfork goes right into his fucking face, pulls his eyeballs out.
Oh, that's amazing.
Wayne
Good
is
catch,
done
by the way.
for. Wayne is finished.
Did you immediately realize that was happening?
Yep, I certainly did. I remember because I was thinking you always have to listen. Because after Cabin in the Woods, John, and they flipped the script on all horror movies, I was like, people are going to have to do something different. So
yeah, for sure.
I was listening for it. So anyway, done. Wayne's done. Okay.
Wayne's done.
And at this moment,
done. The body count is increasing.
Jenna Ortega has pulled the light switch at the same time Wayne dies.
Yes.
She goes downstairs and she sees a guy naked, chained up, bruised. I'm pretty sure he's dead, but guess what? That's the guy on the milk carton.
I was wondering who the fuck that was. I was like, who is this
guy on the milk carton?
Also, can we just talk about like the dichotomy or the intersection of sex and violence in horror movies and how I absolutely love that intersection.
John, it's great.
Because like not only is he I mean, this is just giving you a peek into my personality, which is like he is this dead body that she finds in the basement is hanging from a hook basically and is completely naked, trousers around his ankles and like and full frontal nudity of a man and like totally disgusting and bloody. And I'm just like, I love like sultry violence in horror movies. Like it's just gore and sex is like it has to be there in horror film. Like it's always there in horror films.
It comes from the 70s. This shit was prominent in the 70s and the 80s.
Yes. And that's what I strive to do whenever I'm writing a horror film. It's more subtle than that, but it's still there.
I love a good campy slasher. It works.
Yeah, like and just like in the look, like whenever I'm writing a creature, it's usually sort of like BDSM related.
Yeah,
and it's queer related, queer adjacent, or queer referencing in the look of it. And like if it's like has a leathery look, it's usually like a shiny leather bondage feel. I just wrote like a slasher movie where the slasher killer, like, in my mind, looks very like queer and like sort of like a dom sub situation.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, and like he has like a roach face as a mask. It's a long story, but it's sort of evocative of like who's that in Silent Hill, that the movie version,
yes.
The butcher.
Yes,
like that whole look is very queer to me.
It is actually kind of.
Yeah, and so anyway, back to it. Love that cross section of sex and violence. Love it.
That's how this movie. I was so happy that this is how it was. That intersectionality.
It's like you shouldn't be turned on by that, but you are.
And you're like, wait a minute. You're like, hold up. So Jenna Ortega sees this body and she's like, shit, I gotta get the hell out of here. So at this point, she is rummaging around looking for a way out because she's locked in the cellar. Now, Katya's husband has now rolled down and is looking for his wife. So he says. So
yes.
Who comes to the door is Kid Cudi comes to the door whenever Pops shows up, and he's like fully nude. And this is where you see the massive dong.
Yeah, I fully appreciate Kid Cudi in this movie as well.
He's such a good character.
I love his music. Love what's between his legs even more.
Yep. In this movie, you can see it. It's almost to the ground. So he says, let me go put my underwear on. I'll help you find your wife. So they go searching around the pond because Pops is like, hey, if she falls in, that gator's going to get her. So then,
and
guess what? She didn't fall in, and neither did the husband who tricked Kid Cudi with his flashlight. Kid Cudi thinks he has fallen in. His name is Jackson. Jackson thinks that Pops has fallen into the water, and he turns around to Pops pointing a shotgun at him, which here is where your reference comes in. You're foreshadowing when he says, I've had a lot of farmers point their guns at me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guess what? Boom, Jackson's dead.
Yep. And that's not Pearl. That's the husband.
The husband did this. They couldn't find Pearl.
Yeah. So Pearl, guess where Pearl is?
She's having a little nap next to Mia Goth.
She's having the creepiest of naps.
John, it's so gross.
Next to sleeping Mia Goth, who is unaware. She's like dead to the world, asleep, middle of the night. And Pearl takes off all of her clothes and creeps into bed beside her and starts rubbing her bloody hands all over Mia Goth's body.
So sick,
and it is so gross.
It's like really disturbing.
I was watching that and I was just like, am I experiencing trauma while watching a movie?
John, it was grossing me out actually really bad. I was like, this is sick, dude.
Yeah. And I was like, good for them for going there. And like, but anyway, but Pearl ends up, what brings Pearl out of that bedroom?
So what happens is Mia Goth rolls over, notices Pearl is next to her and not her boyfriend.
Oh, right. And then she screams, waking up Brittany Snow from the other room.
Brittany Snow is straight up like, whoa.
Yeah, she opens the door and Pearl, fully nude, is like shuffling out of there really quickly.
Speaking of roaches, it's like the light turned on and she shuffled right up.
She's skittering.
John, she does skitter out of there. That's a perfect word.
Right. And because she's like some old lady, like Brittany Snow's like, what the fuck? And goes checks on like Mia Goth and she's like, has blood on her. And she's like, she was in my room.
She was in my bed. She was rubbing me with her bloody hands.
Yeah. And so she's like, oh, gross. And so they go out so Brittany Snow goes out.
Gets her robe on for sure.
Yeah. Gets her robe on and goes out and finds Pearl on the dock, fully nude. And she's like, oh, poor little old lady, I'm sorry, like, let me help you, you're just old.
She said, my grandma forgets sometimes too.
Yeah. And then Pearl throws major shade at Brittany Snow. She slaps her. Yeah. And then she's like, you know what, you old bitch, why don't you just stay out here and die? And then she before Brittany Snow can leave, Pearl shoves her into the water.
Pearl pushes her right into the water and then right after calls Brittany Snow a bitch while she's floating in the water, and a gator immediately grabs
her head.
Brittany Snow.
By the head.
Right by the head, John. When that thing comes out and snatches her by the head.
Murdered by alligator.
It was so violent though. And I was like,
yeah.
Because it just kept going, and you're like, let it stop. Like,
and you can hear Brittany Snow like gurgle and scream in the water. So it's like she's being eaten alive and drowned.
While Pearl is standing there watching it happen.
Yeah.
And that is where the alligator comes in to play when you see Brittany Snow's character for the first time walking out of the strip club.
Yeah, I didn't notice that, but yeah, very cool.
So there you go.
Foreshadow everything and button up, pay off everything in a horror movie. It
all pays out. Like,
gotta do it. So anyway, Pearl finishes off her murder. So we only have one. We have a final girl at this point.
We have two final girls.
Oh, right. And so there was this push and pull between like who's going to be the final girl throughout the entire movie. You're like, is it going to be Jenna Ortega or is it going to be Mia Goth? And turns out it's going to be Mia Goth.
It's not Jenna Ortega.
Yeah, because Mia Goth goes to the main house and discovers Jenna Ortega trying to hatchet her way out from the basement door.
She's already tried to. She got her hand smashed by the husband. Remember?
Oh, that's right.
Which was so brutal, dude.
Right. So there's this moment where Jenna Ortega, she hatchets through.
It's very Here's Johnny.
It's very Shining style on purpose. So she reaches through to unlock the door and her fingers get mangled.
Oh God, the bones were sticking out of her hands.
Yeah, so like the husband like bashes her fingers and cuts them all up, and she's like screaming for help with these mangled ass fingers, and I loved it.
Oh God, it was bad. But that's
maim your characters in horror films.
That happens.
Maim them.
That happens before he goes and kills Kid Cudi for a time reference. So now Mia Goth is in the house and the door has been split and Jen has been screaming in there with her bloody fingers for who knows how long.
Right. And so Mia Goth frees her from the basement and Jenna Ortega has lost her marbles. She's like, I am not sticking around here. She's like, you got to be quiet, girl. And then she's like, no, blah, blah, blah. And then Jenna Ortega runs out the front door, immediately shot in the head by a shotgun.
Fucking half her face is blasted off.
Immediately. So our final girl is Mia Goth, and she has this face off. What happens is
she does have a face off, Jenna.
Yeah. So the old man is dragging in Jenna Ortega's body back into the house with Pearl. Pearl is now there
assisting
and so Jenna Ortega has like a spasm of a gasp because she's not quite dead yet.
Her face is awful, dude.
Right, and it spooks. You can see all of her teeth and skull.
Dude, it's insane.
So she, like, her little death rattle, like, spooks the husband to the point where he actually dies of a heart attack.
Yeah, he talks about his bad heart throughout, and it kills him, and I loved that. I was like, good.
Yeah, so anyway, he dies. Pearl's real sad about it, but Pearl takes up the shotgun and is going to fire, and is going to shoot Mia Goth, who's also holding a pistol at her that she got from the van.
Yep.
But so Mia Goth pulls the trigger. It's loaded.
Actually not a loaded gun.
And then Pearl, she pulls the trigger on the shotgun, which blasts her out the door.
Dude, the recoil launched her so far out the door,
this
dude.
Frail old lady.
John, it's very
blast through the screen door.
It reminded me of Gremlins when the old lady gets launched through the window. Yeah. Do you remember when they launch her from the wheelchair thing on the stairs?
It's completely ridiculous. It's like
it's hilarious.
And Mia Goth manages to like duck out of the spray of the BBs from the shotgun, and then but also the pastor is playing on the TV at this point.
Yes, it is.
Yes, and he says, now that's what I call divine intervention.
John, I loved it. It's so
because
crazy.
It's also like poking fun and also very self-aware of an ending like that, which they call Deus Ex Machina, which is an act of God to save the day. And it's not an active choice of the protagonist to resolve the issue. It's a Deus Ex Machina, which means act of God. Divine intervention,
which is really
it's
cool.
Like it's calling itself out as a movie, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, it's great.
So like and then Mia Goth, she goes over to so she's on her way out of the house, and then what do we see on screen?
What we see on screen is
the television that's playing with
the television's playing with the pastor, and the televangelist is like, in the beginning of the movie, he talks about how his daughter has been taken by sex and all of this, and at the very end of the movie, he says, my daughter's name is, and her character is, what is it, Minx?
But he shows an actual picture.
Shows
of
a picture of Mia Goth.
So Mia Goth is this runaway pastor's daughter,
famous pastor's daughter.
So like she says things like, I will not, she says like these affirmations to herself, which she picked up from her dad, which is like, I will not accept a life less than what I deserve.
Yep.
And his congregation literally says that.
Yeah, which is nuts.
So she gets into the van and she sees Pearl lying on the ground.
She's in the truck. Remember, the van had the knife stuck in it. Pearl screwed that up for everyone.
Right. So she's in this old truck, and then she sees Pearl in the side view mirror, and she decides to back over her head.
But first, she sees Pearl on the ground, and Pearl's like, "Help me." She's like, no." She's like, "By the way, no." And so that's when she gets in the truck. She's about to drive away, and then you see the light bulb switch in Mia's character's head, and she goes,
I have to kill her.
She's got to die.
Yeah.
So she backs over Pearl's head, and this gets very gory, and this is the foreshadowing for the guts on the tire, the guts and the blood on the tire, because it crunches Pearl's head to the point of just, it obliterates it.
Yeah, and like the top of her skull with like all of her like thinning white hair.
Her fucking strands.
Yeah, I was having a meeting with a producer friend a few weeks ago, and he was like, "You have to see X. Like, it's amazing." And
John, I'm so glad we finally did. I've been waiting.
Yeah, and like I was like, yeah, we got to do it. And so but he was like, but it gets, he was like, was warning me. He was like, it gets very gory. And I'm like, have you met me before?
Like, does it matter? Also, her hair reminds me of that old woman in the shower. She looks like Faculty in the Faculty.
Yes. So we also probably should watch The Faculty. Anyway, so it's like, he was like, but he prefaced it. He was like, there's an ending moment that's just going to like make you want to look away. Cause it's like so gut wrenching. Like it made me want to vomit.
It didn't make me want to look away.
I know. Right. So I watched it. I was like waiting for that moment that I was like warned about. And I was like, all of this is very palatable to me.
Yeah.
Like
it all was.
Yeah. In my Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but horror script. I should send that to you, by the way.
You should actually go ahead and do that.
Because I finished it, but it's I have this moment where like one of the shrunken kids gets caught in a glue trap. And like while the slasher is like looming behind him, and he tries to get away by pulling up his like arms and limbs that are stuck. And like the skin starts to rip off, and like his face, and he starts to pull up his face, and his face skin starts to rip off, and it's like very gory.
Wait,
and I never know how far is too far.
No, it's not far enough, but it gives me Ghost in the Shell. Do you remember when she's pulling that thing and all of her body and shit starts coming apart?
Yes,
that's Ghost in the Shell, and I love that.
Yes, me too. Oh, I love Ghost in the Shell.
That's really good.
Not Scarlett Johansson version. That's crazy.
Wait.
Did you ever watch the Scarlett Johansson Ghost in the Shell? It's awful.
John, I actually really liked it.
Do you really love it?
Yes.
No.
The creator wanted Scarlett Johansson in that movie.
I know, but ScarJo should not be in that movie.
Yeah, but that's for another day. We're going to discuss this for another day, but I have my opinions, and they might not be what everyone believes. Yeah. But my opinion is not the same as yours.
Okay, cool. I had high hopes for that movie. Anyway, so Mia Goth, she rides off into the sunset as the final girl, and survives to live another day.
Yep. And then we come full circle, and you see all the sheriffs there, and we've all gotten to the point where we see how the bodies got where they got, and how everyone died the way they did.
Right. And so now we have to watch Pearl whenever that shit comes out.
John, it's this month, and I'm absolutely going.
Is it theatrical?
Yeah.
Oh, God damn it. I have to wait. I can't go into theaters yet.
Oh, shit. I'll wait. I'm going to wait.
Okay.
You and I are going to watch it together. I will wait with you because we can't.
You don't have to wait.
No,
John.
You
don't have to wait.
No, and here's the thing. I'm going to wait because I want to be surprised when you're surprised.
Okay, cool. So needless to say, Travis and I think X was an amazing movie.
I thought it was fantastic, dude.
I thought it's refreshing genre horror slasher movie.
It's got good comedy in it when the comedy happens.
Good comedy, which it always has to be, is very self-aware. And also it's making references to movies you've seen before, but it's not pretending like it's its own idea at all.
No, but
it's paying homage to a tradition of horror film of the 70s.
Which is why Scream works too, because Scream follows the same format, but it also, listen, it's been a long time since we've had a great horror franchise. The fact that they, like you said, are franchising this.
Yes, that was very surprising to me, because just watching this at face value, I wouldn't have expected that they had a thought out franchise.
Especially when they filmed it secretly side by side.
Yeah, which I think is really hard to do because you need financing for that to happen.
Which means they had the money and they already knew that what X was going to be.
Yeah, they were plotting out a franchise before they even shot this film. I am convinced. I
really fully.
Give me your thoughts. I feel like I've been talking this whole time. Give me your thoughts.
We've both been going back and forth because I think we're very excited about like a horror movie that actually makes
and is good.
And like is good.
I have lost faith in a lot of horror movies, especially on the supernatural vein of things, because I'm like, they are just like PG-13 movies that skirt the line between uplifting and dark. And there's a hesitance to go very dark and brutal in horror films because they want to sell tickets to a big, broad market. But what they don't understand, whenever a producer gets into wanting to finance a horror film, they get very gun shy whenever it comes to gore, darkness,
nudity.
Like children in peril is a note that I get a lot.
Which is like, who cares? Children are in peril. Can we all just at the same time? We have to recognize
like children deal with adult issues on a daily basis.
It's not something that people should shy away from. It's not like we're not out here saying, yes, this should happen. But guess what? It does, unfortunately.
Yeah. Children die every day.
It happens. We have to accept it. Reality is reality.
So it's like I love this horror movie because the theme of it, of like this old lady trying to reconnect with her past and former glory, like in seeing Mia Goth, who reminds her of her younger self. Like there's great themes of like conservatism versus freedom, basically. Like
freedom to be you.
Yeah, and just like doing things that are against the grain. And so there's a dueling banjos between like the old versus new. And so love that theme. It plays on different levels throughout, and a good horror movie has a good theme.
And I will say this before I'm going to say this before I give my rating, which obviously is going to be very high.
Yeah.
My favorite part about this movie, aside from all the acting, which was fucking fantastic.
Great acting,
great cast. I will say I loved that The Farmer's Daughter, the porn that they're filming, it tells the story of everything that's going to happen before it all plays out. So if you notice, whenever Brittany Snow's character is talking at one point while they're filming the porn, she says, "We better hope Daddy don't show up. Daddy ain't going to be happy if he finds out any of this is happening." And this is in the film while everything's playing out in real life behind it. This fictional story they're telling within the porn is playing out the events that are going to turn the movie. And it all happens before.
I really appreciated this sequence in the movie where Pearl is basically trying to seduce Mia Goth for the first time while she's serving her lemonade. Meanwhile, we keep cutting back to the porn that's being filmed, like where Brittany Snow is the farmer's daughter trying to seduce Kid Cudi, who's like a stranger who needs a ride back into town, but Daddy's not home. So she's pouring lemonade for Kid Cudi, and they're sitting like in the exact same positions between the two scenes. And like, I thought that was amazing because Brittany Snow is saying out loud her intention of what she wants to, like, you're really getting it very explicitly, like what she intends to do with Kid Cudi. But then you cut back to Pearl and Mia Goth in this real world situation, and you're getting nothing from Pearl, but you're getting Pearl's intention from the cutaway to Brittany Snow.
Which is why I love the cutaway between the porn and the story happening, because you have this fantasy and you have the true elements, but they're all intertwined. Yeah, it's incredible.
It's really great filmmaking, and like Ty West, I'm like,
I'm
good for you.
Honestly.
And this is like one of those movies. This is what okay. So we'll get into critics' reviews and everything like that. But horror movies will never, ever, for some reason, be like winning an Oscar unless it's like Get Out. You know what I mean?
Which is so lame.
Like, I loved Get Out and it deserved its awards and accolades, obviously. But with something like X, where there's like explicit sex, male full frontal nudity on several occasions, the themes of it and the gore of it is going to prevent it from getting nominated for Oscars. But I would honestly love it, John, if this movie was nominated for an Oscar.
Me too. I know
it's so good. Like the writing is great. The performances are high quality. The storytelling and the screenwriting is simple and exceptional at the same time.
Yep. And that's all we need.
And yeah.
I'm giving this 9. I want to give, I don't think I'm ever
out of how many
cum towels.
Out of how many cum towels thrown at Jenna Ortega will you give this out of 10?
Absolutely. John, I want to give it a 10, but I'm not going to because I don't think it's perfect, but I'm going to give it a 9.
I would have to agree with you.
I'm giving it a 9. Like
it's like a 9. It's a 9 for me. Like, cause you know that I'm very passionate about horror films.
Yes.
And this was one of those experiences where I was like, yes, reference all those things that I love and then give me something extra.
Yep.
And give me a slasher villain that I haven't seen before. And Pearl isn't just like some decrepit old lady who has a chip on her shoulder. There's something wrong with her. There's something wrong with her, but also they keep breadcrumbing this past that she's had.
Yep.
Which they pay off with a sequel or a prequel.
Which I can't wait for us to see it.
Yeah, and it's played by Mia Goth, so we get to see her again.
Which, by the way, the fact that this movie literally could change every opinion about these people I didn't know, but before Brittany Snow, I can't. I really want her to continue down this road of doing weird, like, and this isn't weird, but in the sense, it's like this very artsy.
It's weird for her.
It's weird for her.
It's an art house film that did very well. Like, but it also has like the stamp of A24. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Like, so A24, like they really crowd around the projects that they do and make it specific to A24. It's very specifically A24, but slasher.
John,
you know what I mean?
This movie is meta in the sense that they created a porn that was artsy.
Right? And so they made a slasher horror film that was artsy.
And they did it exactly. They did exactly what they meant to do. And I'm so
I love
impressed.
The self-awareness.
I'm actually self-awareness. Yeah. What? So you're going to give it 9? So
the critics, I'm going to give it a 9 as well. And I think the critics did as well. Because on RottenTomatoes.com.org.uk, it gets a 94% tomatometer.
Nice.
But only a 75% audience score. Drama.
What? The audience doesn't. I'm sorry. I'm not agreeing with the audience this time.
But I feel like you definitely lose your audience with the amount of gore because it turns people off. And I love that.
John, it's a slasher.
I love it.
What do they expect from a slasher?
I know. My manager gave me notes on my slasher film. And he was like, dial back the gore about like maybe like 25%.
No,
I'm absolute, because he gave me that, I'm gonna go harder.
Don't, please. I don't go to a slasher this movie. For this.
I know, right? You gotta go gory. That's what they're all about. But anyway, the critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is a fresh spin on the classic slasher formula. X marks the spot where Ty West gets resoundingly back to his horror roots.
I love this.
Oh. Yeah, and the audience says X isn't every horror fan's idea of a good time, but it's often unique and never boring. So I agree with the critics on this one.
Me too. I'm with the critics.
Yeah. Who played that old man?
Honestly, I didn't.
That's a person in prosthetics.
Yeah, I don't know who that was, but that one tooth in the front, I was like, girl, brush it.
Yeah, I'm like, brush that tooth. Of here. Crypt Keeper, fucking Poltergeist 2, In the Rain.
It said, looking like a piece of candy corn hanging out the front of my face.
Yeah.
Like,
you're all gonna die in there. Anyway, it's definitely giving Katya in a weird silicone mask vibes.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So,
but I loved it. We are definitely over time, but I feel like this is the X special.
This is the X special, and I'm fine with this being over time because, dude, sometimes we have to go over.
Yeah. But I loved it.
Me too.
I loved it.
I loved it. I absolutely can't wait for Pearl.
Yeah. So when does that come out?
September 15th. It hits theaters. If I'm not,
it's right around. That's 10 days away.
Yep. We're going to watch this as soon as it comes out. Also, I want to propose this to you before we close out. How would you feel about October being all horror?
Ooh, yes. October horror month.
We're going to do horror month, but we might just start with Hocus Pocus 2.
Ooh, when does that come out?
End of September.
Oh, perfect timing.
John, we can watch the new Hocus Pocus,
and we can talk about the first time that we watched Hocus Pocus as children and how you felt about it. And was it your gay awakening?
John, I knew then, and I knew every October that I put that bitch in and watched it. Throughout October, I was like, every single day, I was like, I'm getting gayer.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Like Hocus Pocus made us gay.
So with that, everyone, we love the movie. We highly recommend X. Please watch it. There's so much more that we left out, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, we didn't spoil everything for you. The experience isn't just watching this movie.
You see in the beginning, we didn't spoil that these people are going to die. You see in the very beginning they're going to die, and you get to find out how it happened. So
so watch it, experience it. It's great.
Enjoy the ride. Also, if you have a movie you want John and I to watch, please email us at meangirlsinterrupted@gmail.com. It's in the description box. Anywhere you get your podcasts, just copy and paste it. Send us something.
Also, rate, review, comment, subscribe, auto download. The downloads is where it's at.
Yes, we love the downloads. We also want the comments. The reviews help us too. The reviews help us move up. Australia.
We're up against that algorithm as everybody is right now.
Australia, listen, we're in the top 100. We want to be in the top 10.
Yeah.
Can you? The United States, it's not happening for us.
The United States is very picky.
So it's not happening for us. So we will take the other side of the world.
We need a continent of some kind.
And
yours
is huge. Yours is huge. Listen.
We're big in Antarctica as well.
You gave us Margot Robbie. You gave us Heath Ledger.
Hugh Jackman.
We're going to give you...
still hasn't come out of the closet.
You gave us the incomparable Nicole Kidman.
Oh, Nicole Kidman, that body is tight.
By the way, I almost bought a pair of Diesel sneakers the other day just because of her campaign with Diesel. I swear to God, John, she looked so hot.
She's still got it. I saw those pictures and I was like, what? Are we doing like just body these days?
John, I'm not kidding. I had the shoes in my cart.
Have you seen her body? That's the same body, but it's like Nicole Kidman's body in Killing of a Sacred Deer.
I have not watched that.
Oh, she has a very kinky, sensual scenes.
Okay, I'm going to watch that movie.
And she has this fetish where she just lies there like she's dead.
Oh, well, I'm watching that movie.
And doesn't move while Colin Farrell's doing his thing.
Oh, I saw his dick in a porn once.
Me too.
Yeah, don't you remember when it leaked? Anyway, sorry, everyone, we digress.
In what way?
John, wait, that was really good. Bye. Just kidding.
Okay, well, let's roll the credits.
John, first you have to tell me, are you going to see me at the movies?
Oh, well, I'm going to see you at the movies.
Roll the credits. Dried up, dusty bitch.
Goodbye.
Bye.